All right, this question 12, is on land use and Deerfoot Parkway. We've talked about it a lot already. Mr. Short, this one goes to you first. How do we as a city move forward with a comprehensive, cohesive plan for land use in the spaces we do have left in our city limits or unincorporated areas that we might annex in the future, so that we don't end up with hodgepodge developments, both housing and commercial?
Yeah, so we've covered a little bit of this earlier, obviously, so I'll make this an abbreviated response to it, but it all comes down to partnering with the Regional Planning Commission and creating this strategic master plan as it relates to land use. And then how do you take it another step? You identify the corridors that you want and you create overlays specific to those corridors in order to ensure that development occurs the way that you want it to. That way you have commercial where you want commercial, you have residential where you want commercial, or where you want residential. And then you have adequate buffer between, right? Same with industrial. You don't want residential abutting up to industrial when you can avoid it. So all of those things can be crafted inside that strategic master plan, which gives teeth, for a lack of better words, gives teeth to planning and zoning to deny requests as they come in. So Deerfoot Corridor is obviously one of the last main ones from a development standpoint. We have actively protected, thanks to Trussville Utilities, 1,300 acres of land over there that will not be developed. So I thank Trussville Utilities for their willingness. Obviously, protecting the aquifers are important, and not only that, that's allowed us to retire $5 million worth of debt while putting a little over $3 million back in the account. So now we've got roughly $8 million of cash on hand while retiring $8 million of debt service this past week. So I count that as a win, and these are again strategic moves from a financial perspective that we've been doing for months that we're just now getting to where you can see those fruits. So,
yeah, Mr. Smallwood, same question to you.
Absolutely. I think we have to be cognizant again of traffic flow. We have to be cognizant of the watershed issues, our aquifers, our ecological preservations, which is being environmentally sensitive. That Cahaba runs adjacent to those properties. I think we have to consider all those things. And it's interesting enough, Jeffrey Bear, prior to his development of the summit, that was one of his consideration spots for the summit, right there on on the Deerfoot corridor. That would have been interesting. Talk about traffic. Wow, that would be such a contribution to traffic number if that would have transpired. So he went a different direction. It paid off marvelously for him in that sector over there. But man, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential. There's been discussions in times past of an education corridor because of the access to the interstate, the 4 lanes and the turn lanes and all that. So that has a lot of potential. So we have to be acutely aware of the consequences of developing that property. We have to develop it with school in mind, with traffic flow in mind, with ecological initiative to protect the watershed. There's a lot of factors that we have to juggle in the air and make sure we get it right, because this will be impacting for generations to come. So we need a thorough review. We need citizens, involvement and transparency in all that we do. I think one thing that we've been hearing is sometimes there's not a lot of transparency, because just the way things are, I think we could improve as a city by allowing more communication from our residents, what their voice, what needs to be heard, and with respect to what's going to happen. People want to know what's going to happen in their neighborhood, what's going to happen in their city, and I think they have a right to know. And I think they have we have a obligation to inform those people what we're going to do with that property and how it will be impactful to their kids, to the traffic flow, to the grocery store and on, and how we're going to meet those needs as a city.
Ms. Bright, your response?
We've touched on most of this already, but just something that we haven't in this question touched on. So we have a downtown overlay, which protects our businesses, which protects housing there, what type housing. That's the only area that we have short-term rentals, which is very important. I was very glad to advocate or be a part of that, because I think it's It's hard to have short-term rentals in a regular neighborhood. You want to protect this person's right to have their house as a business, but at the same time, the person next door, they may not want your short-term rental right next door to them. So I think having overlays are very good, which would, as Ben would say, and I have too, on having some sort of regional plan across the entire 35 miles of this city. So all that to say, we don't have a lot of land left, and we need to be very, very careful how we develop it. I said earlier, housing needs to go in a certain area and commercial in a certain area as well. We don't want them to butt up. Sometimes that happens. We've done a very good job to have not had a lot of that in years past. We grew so fast. League of Municipalities said we grew 83% in 20 years. I mean, that's unheard of. And so some things maybe didn't go the way they should have, but trying to take that now, it's never too late. We can always go and plan and move forward. But planning is the key to all of it. We have planning and zoning, and they do a great job, but I bet they would want to do a lot more planning on that end than just whatever comes to them and have to authorize zoning. So just having mindsets like that of being willing to include the public. I will say this on communication, that's one of my 5 platforms. We don't have enough communication in this city. We did get our city council meetings on YouTube, which is huge. I think we need to move our workshops to YouTube as well. We also need a newsletter. So talk about an opportunity for when you do have meetings that are planning. You're going to have a newsletter that comes in your email, and you know what's coming up. It's in your email. If you choose to sign up for it, it's there. Have more. When we were doing Glendale, which I thought was very effective, we had a town hall, and people came, and the maps were in all 4 corners, and there were stickies everywhere, and you could write on there what you would like to see at Glendale. Now that didn't happen, but people felt engaged and they felt involved, and that's a good feeling. I think we've got to have more of those, because there again, you're not going to reach everybody. You're not going to reach them all by social media. You're not going to reach them all by email. There's some people that you're just not going to reach, but you certainly can try to reach more. And I think that's going to come down to communication, on letting people know what's going on, and having a better plan for what the rest of our property looks like.
Yeah, and I'll quickly hop in because they both mentioned communication. I think that, again, I have a different communication style than most. I've been, over the past 5 years, I've been putting the information out there. Councilor Bright and I both ran on getting our council meetings online, so we were glad that we could accomplish that. I'm with you. The workshop should be there. But I would also contend planning and zoning, IDA, design review, all those meetings can be publicized. There's the technology already exists, and most of those meetings are within City Hall. So we can click the button, we put that out there for the general public, and then if they want to watch, they can become aware. But I also feel like we can do a better job from a city perspective. I don't think it should fall on individual councilors to continuously push this information out. So we can leverage the city's platforms. We have TextMyGov, we have the city social media, we have other alternatives that we can leverage to get the information to the general public. And I think we can definitely do a better job there. And that's something I committed to do if I'm elected. And I think they would both agree with that too.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of the last questions here in a bit. So we'll very briefly touch on it again. So